Hey, what's up? Richard Bryce here. Today I want to answer the question of whether older tennis players should use modern techniques, because the way that most coaches teach these days and the way that I kind of teach these days, it's all based around kind of the modern game style. So we've got the blueprints from all the best players in the world on the men's and the women's side, and you know, with all the slow motion footage, it's fairly well mapped out now how these players hit the ball, how they use full body biomechanics and use the full kinetic chain on both sides to efficiently generate power and spin while still maintaining control. So kind of based on all the available information that we've got, it is, you know, the modern styles are the best styles to use in terms of your ability or your potential to play the best quality tennis you can, if that makes sense. That's what the best players do. That's what we need to model in terms of the technique for theoretically optimal performance. But it's really important to understand that the way professional tennis players move is incredible. So their level of flexibility, their level of coordination, their level of strength, their level of full body control is unbelievable. And that's why those players are able to do the things that they do and play in the way they play, because their bodies work so incredibly well. And you've got to understand that those players kind of developed those skills, those movement patterns throughout their whole life. Most of them started playing tennis at a very young age, so it's stuff they've done on a continual basis, and the ones that we see on TV are the real cream of the crop. They're not the thousands and thousands of players who didn't quite make it to that level. So we're modeling ourselves on the absolute best possible tennis specimens. So it's not that we shouldn't copy what they do, because I continually try to work on my technique and improve things to play more like they do, so that hopefully my game looks more like theirs does. But if you watch some of my videos, I've got all the nuts and bolts of most of the shots, but you can just see that things don't look quite as smooth and fluid. And that's because my body doesn't move like their bodies do. You know, I'm a smidgen older than Federer, but we're basically the same level, or same age, but we're clearly not the same level in terms of performance, and we're clearly not the same level in terms of flexibility and things like that. And the flexibility is really going to be a key area for a lot of older players. If you're really flexible, fantastic, this doesn't apply to you. But if you're like me and a lot of the adult tennis players that I see and work with and have come across, there's going to be flexibility limitations that might prevent you from doing certain things. So I'm not saying don't try and model the ATP strokes or anything like that. I'm just saying be really mindful of it and kind of play within the comfort range of what your body can do. So a couple of examples I want to give you, like if you think about a unit term, a lot of older players use a one-handed backhand because they're not flexible enough to do a full unit term on the two-handed backhand. So you've just got to bear that stuff in mind. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't use a two-handed backhand. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when you watch videos on YouTube, or maybe if you're working with a coach and the coach talks about, yeah, when you're preparing for that one-handed backhand, you want to get your back facing down the other end of the court so your opponent can see it. Technically, that is 100% correct. But if your spine isn't flexible enough to do that, if your hips aren't flexible enough to do that, if your neck isn't flexible enough to turn your head that way so you can still see down the other end of the court, then you shouldn't follow that coaching cue. It's not that the coaching cue is wrong. It is absolutely a great tip if your body can do it. But if it can't, it's not going to work for you. Another one is going to be the racket lag. Now I'm choosing the racket lag because I'm a fantastic example of how to do it badly. If you look at how much my wrist bends back, it's not very far. Like, you obviously want to have a relaxed hand when you play, and that's going to contribute to having a good quality racket lag. And I do have a racket lag, but it certainly doesn't look like the best players in the world. But it's never going to look like the best players in the world because I simply do not have the wrist flexibility to do what they do. And I work hard on my flexibility, but I'm just not the same level of athlete as them. So if you're my age, which is 41, or you're a little bit older, or even if you're a little bit younger and you lack flexibility, you've just got to bear that stuff in mind when you're working on your technique. Another really important area is going to be that serve. You know, shoulder flexibility and range of motion. Like when you watch someone like Andy Roddick play, and if you watch Pete Sampras, the position that their arm used to get into, it is incredible. My shoulder doesn't go into those positions. Maybe yours does, maybe yours doesn't. But again, something that I've seen from a lot of adult tennis players is their shoulder. They just don't have the external rotation. So I guess explaining what that means. This is external rotation. So as you go behind, you go into that racket drop, the more external rotation that you've got, kind of the better, and it's one of the keys to having an absolute monster serve. But if you don't have that range of motion, trying to do that range, or trying to do that over and over again, is going to lead to an injury. So again, I'm not saying don't model their techniques. You know, I'm continually trying to modernize and evolve my game and kind of work on the more ATP style, because it's clearly the best way that tennis can be played, because the people we see on TV are unbelievable. But you've just got to understand that you've got to work within the range of what your body can handle. Now, obviously my recommendation is going to be, if you're trying to improve your game, which is why you're going to be working on modernizing it, you want to continually work on your body to try and make it function better. You know, when you make small improvements, if you've seen any of my videos before, my hip mobility used to be horrible. Now it's just not very good, but it used to be horrible. But the small improvements that I've made in my hip flexibility have made a huge difference in my ability to hit from an open stance and to kind of get down low and hit backhands from certain positions. Like before, I just couldn't get into those positions to hit those shots. I'm still not a really flexible person. I'm going to keep working at it and try and improve it, but understand going from where I was to where I am now has enabled me to have much better quality of technique, because now I can get into better positions. So for flexibility, it's an issue. Strength can also be an issue. If you're not strong enough to get into certain positions, you want to be mindful of that as well. But I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it, because flexibility is the one that often limits a lot of people. Because the most important thing is not getting injured, so you can get out there and you continue to improve and enjoy playing tennis. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to explain to you in this video. I work a lot in this area with people. I don't have any free programs that kind of go over this stuff. I do have a bunch of videos that I'll put down in the description that show you some joint mobility exercises and some different things that you can use to start to work on your body. But if you would like more help in this area, I'll place another link in the description that's just going to allow you to schedule a chat with me, and then I can learn more about your game and we can see if there's potential to work together. Okay? Any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can.